So the agenda today and what we're going to cover in the next 20 minutes or so is video, a company overview. We're going to have a talk about the video conferencing market and why it's a good idea to be hopping into it about now and why video is a good product to hop into it with. We're going to talk about a couple of key differences, what makes video so different to everything else that's out in the market. We'll go over the product architecture at a very high level. Then we'll have a chat about the Alloy and video relationship and where you as potential resellers fit into that, and talk about some of the requirements for being a reseller, because there is some commitment from you required up front. So let's get into it. Video company overview. These guys were founded in 2005. They've got offices in 9 countries including Australia, 200 employees, of which about a third of them are involved in R&D, so very technically top heavy. Lots of patents and things. The technology, when you see the technology they're using and how it changes the whole market-facing attitude of video conferencing, you'll see why they hold so many patents. They were founded by Offer Shapiro and Dr. Alex Eleftheriadis. These guys have both ends of the video conferencing market covered. Offer was involved with video conferencing way back from H.264 and developing those standards. Alex has been working on SVC and is currently heavily involved in the new H.264 standard that we'll hopefully see ratified in about January. When they founded the organisation, the key goal was to turn video conferencing on its head and to be able to offer high quality, low cost endpoints and deliver HD video over lossy networks, the internet basically. Although that has gone on to cover a whole range of other networks now, including 3G, 4G, Wi-Fi, etc. As I said, any low-cost, lossy network environment, they wanted to be able to deliver high-quality video conferencing over. So they started working on a technology that would later become Annex G, part of the H.264 standard, and that's scalable video codec, and we'll talk about that later and why it makes such a big difference. But as I said, founded in 2005, SVC was ratified in 2007, and these guys started shipping products in 2008. On the top left-hand corner there, you can see a lot of the venture capital players that are involved in investors in video. Down below that, you can see some of their partners, including Juniper Networks, Google, Hitachi, Ricoh. On the customer side of things, the CERN is one of my favorite. They use video because it allows them to connect transparently to thousands of universities around the world and share the results of their testing. In Australia, Mildura Health, which is one of the largest geographical health regions in the country, they've deployed video conferencing for remote diagnostics and all those sort of things, and of course flying doctors. And on the Google side, if you've ever used Google+, you've been using video infrastructure, because the whole of the Google+ video experience sits on the top of video infrastructure. The video conferencing market, back around the time that I think Cisco took over Tandberg, a young lady from the Copenhagen Business School did an extensive study on the video conferencing market and applied the PESTEL framework to have a look at where the market was, where it's going, and what the strengths and weaknesses were. And out of that, she's identified the 3 key drivers of the economic, social, and technological. And so what's coming together is we see the from the economic side of things, we see globalization is obviously here to stay. We saw the global economic collapse that as driving cost savings initiatives. We're seeing peak oil and the cost of oil continuing to rise, and again making physical travel more and more expensive. And we're also seeing more and more political and natural events causing disruption to potential travel plans. For example, Hurricane Sandy recently with New York and the east coast of the US, volcano in the northern hemisphere a couple of years back that shut down airports right across Europe. All these sort of things are making the economic attractiveness of something like video conferencing more appealing. On the social side of things, we see virtual business now. The shop fronts are closing, and web-based businesses the number of web-based businesses are going through the roof. And of course, Gen Y are more comfortable than any generation before with using video-based communications. And we see this with things like Skype and those similar low-end technologies. And the last one is the technological. We've seen now finally the coming together of 3 different technologies that are leading to the boom in video conferencing, and that's the internet is there, it's in place, it's low-cost networking available to the masses. We see mobile handsets now are all video capable, and it's ubiquitous, So, and the thing that really enables that is this SVC technology that I've mentioned previously, and will give you more information on. SVC allows the running of video and video technology over lossy networks, such as the internet and mobile networks. So with these 3 things becoming available and ubiquitous at the same time, they're probably the 3 biggest drivers for growth in the video conferencing market. So in terms of numbers being spent on video conferencing, if we have a look at this chart that takes us back from 2010 through to projections in 2015, we see the total spend on video conferencing going from 1.2 billion to 5 billion in about 3 years from now. So that's sort of growth market. I mean, we've seen IP telephony probably reached its peak in terms of growth now and will plateau going forward. Video conferencing is probably the next big technology that will have this rapid growth spurt. In fact, if we have a look at what Gartner has to say about it, they're saying today, currently, and this was 2011, I think, they're saying around about 200,000 room systems were sold globally per year. By 2015, corporate video conferencing on the desktop, not by room systems as we see today, but at the desktop, 200 million. Okay, so that doesn't take into consideration mobile video conferencing. So as we can see, it's a booming market, and video, the organisation and their product is perfectly positioned to step into that gap, and have been doing so very successfully here in Australia with Alloy for the last probably 18 months or so. One of the other changes in behaviour we're seeing with video conferencing now too is the ability. Video conferencing was used for a long time for internal communications, from the Sydney office to the New York office, from New Zealand to China, whatever, where you had branch offices. Video conferencing was seen as a mechanism for reducing those trips that management and mid-level management and technicians had to make. Now we're seeing a change in the marketplace over the last couple of years, is video conferencing is increasingly being used to talk to partner and customer organisations, so external parties outside of the business. And again, this is where the video product comes into its own. So why is it different? Really, one of the key things is this SVC codec. The slide that you can see now talks about AVC. This is the legacy way of doing video conferencing. And even on newer systems such as Life-Size, etc., they still have this concept of an MCU, even if they have built it into one of the room systems itself. So in this legacy architecture, what you did was a encode out at the room system. You'd send it into an MCU in the middle. The MCU would decode all the incoming streams, then recompose them together into a single stream and encode it again, and then send it out to the endpoints to look at. This obviously used a lot of processing power. The hardware is expensive, the endpoints are expensive, and the AVC codec itself, right, very, very effective compression algorithm, very effective. But it was so effective, it was a very fragile stream. So anything around about between 1% and 2% packet loss would destroy the quality of this video conference using AVC. Therefore, it needed to be deployed over lossless networks. So we saw in the early days ISDN, and then after that MPLS environments for deploying video conferencing. And that's all because AVC couldn't handle packet loss gracefully. And so when you got packet loss, you'd see screen freezes, pixelation, ghosting, loss of audio synchronization, any of these sort of errors, and all related to just very low levels of packet loss. So what we ended up with, a solution to get around this, was the high capex expenditure of the MCU and the room systems, and then the high OPEX costs, the ongoing operating costs of this, with the incredibly expensive MPLS networks. Excuse me. What SVC and video bring to the table is the latest iteration of the H.264 standard, which allows us to run video over lossy networks. SVC, the H.264-SVC codec, will run error-free with between 30 and 40% packet loss. So we can run that over an environment such as the internet or 3G, 4G and Wi-Fi and get error-free video communication. The other thing that SVC does is there's an agent. In the video solution, there's an agent that sits on each endpoint. That agent talks back to the video router in the middle constantly, many times a second, getting feedback on exactly what that endpoint is capable of, how much processing power it has, what sort of network connection it has, what's going on in terms of jitter, latency, packet loss. It's aware of the resolution that's being displayed at any one time, CPU type, CPU utilization. It understands all of these issues and streams traffic to it individually to each endpoint based on that information. So what happens in the middle of this network all the time is the central point is constantly adapting the video stream to what that endpoint can handle and process. So, and that's how we get that error-free video and lossy networks. So that's really the two big things. The other aspect of it is because we don't have to do recoding in the middle and recomposing for specific endpoints, we can now talk from anything from a mobile phone up to our largest multi-screen panorama room systems, and we'll talk a bit more about all of that in a moment. So what does it mean to end users? Well, video conferencing from anywhere and all those things we see over on the left, which I've already mentioned. Basically error-free video conferencing on any platform over any network. So the products and the architecture, from a high-level point of view, there's a video portal that's used for system administration, user authentication, license administration. It's a management platform for the solution. The video router is the box that we see that terminate and hosts the actual conferences. So all the video streams go through this video router and are delivered out to each of our end users. It's a pretty busy box and very scalable solution as well. So this can be stacked up to large numbers. In fact, I think the largest deployment video has that I'm aware of in a non-telco environment, so just a standard enterprise environment, is 100,000 endpoints and 5,000 concurrent high-def video streams. So as I said, a very, very scalable solution. In terms of endpoints, probably the most versatile on the market, we support the video room, and we have a number of those available, doing 1080p 30 frames per second and variations thereof, 720p at 60 frames per second. Video desktop, which supports Windows, Mac and Linux environments, whether it be a laptop or a desktop device. Then video mobile, this runs on iPhone, iPad, so iPhone version 4 and above, iPad version 2 and above, and Android phones and tablets. So I'll say very, very flexible there. And finally, the video panorama that you can see an image of in the bottom left-hand corner there is the immersive telepresence solution. At the moment, it supports up to 9 screens. It does high def, 1080p, 60 frames per second, and I believe early next year we'll be looking at up to 20 screens in that panorama solution. On top of that, we have the video gateway. This allows us to connect to our legacy systems, and the ease of use in the video environment to connect to these legacy boxes is incredible. But this is why CERN went with the video solution. One of the key reasons they did, the ability to use this gateway and connect out to either out to desktops or to existing room system investments in their customer university clients. So very versatile and highly scalable again. And video replay is a recorder player content creation webcasting box. So with a video replay, the owner of any conference can record the content, store it, share it, save it, and can even webcast it out to, from a single box we can webcast out to 300 odd participants. So, and again, that's a scalable system. So Alloy and their part in this, so for those of you who aren't familiar with Alloy, manufacturer and distributor networking equipment, wholly Australian owned, and the owners work within the business, been operating since 1985. The important bit here is a reseller supply model, and we do not go to customers directly with video or any other product. We have a high touch sales model. We have technical people to help with the design and solution. We have pre-sales people available to come out and present with you on business opportunities, whether it be in person or via video conferencing. As I say, it's all about supporting our resellers. And based on how well we do it, we've got over 5,000 reseller partners in Australia, of which about a quarter of them do business with us in any given year. You're probably all aware we have offices in Australia and the US, but 2,500 to 3,000 line items in our price list currently. We manufacture our own equipment in 3 countries, including Australia, and you can see the brag sheet of vendor partners there on the bottom of the slide. As I said, we've been around for a long time and we'll be here for a long time to come. Some of our end users, it's a bit tongue-in-cheek this slide, but US Department of Defence, Australian Department of Defence, federal, state and local governments. Basically, if you can name an industry, we probably have sold into it and have installed product into those areas. 20 Gartner industry verticals, everything from the corner store, one user corner store, up to, well, US Department of Defence, which would be our biggest customer in terms of number of members, as well over 2 million, I think, members now at the moment. Anyway, as I said, small, large, we can and do supply equipment to them. In terms of our relationship with video, we're the Australian New Zealand distributor. Video is only supplied through an authorised reseller channel. If you're not authorised, you don't get the support, you don't get access to purchase the product. Alloy do level 1 and 2 support. Video supply any level 3 support that's required. Sales and technical certification training is performed by Alloy. Having said that, now video have just bought in online sales training. So we do some local material about our price lists and how to understand them and all those sort of things. And then the rest of the sales training is delivered online, and technical training is classroom based with hands-on equipment. So as I said, an authorised channel, no support, no product, no maintenance if you're not authorised. Minimum reseller commitment. They must have one video certified installation tech, must have one certified sales professional, and you must purchase some equipment to demonstrate the product. And again, sales and technical certification provided by Alloy. Video support, how it works. So you as the reseller would design, install and support the video solution directly with your end user. The customer would come to you for support. Alloy would support you, and then Vidyo doing the level 3 support behind that. Or if you like, you can go directly to Vidyo and bypass Alloy on the support contract side of things. So either. Hardware support is free for the first year and mandatory every year after that, and software support mandatory every year but includes all upgrades, etc., etc. So a pretty well-rounded product and product offering, I think. So now, guys, we got through that reasonably quickly. Thanks for your patience. I am going to open up the floor to questions now. So anybody who'd like to ask any questions, if you can use the webinar interface to raise your hand, and I'll get to you and open up your mic and we'll have a chat.